The Oklahoma City Thunder finally get a clutch time win, and they're now in the driver's seat for the second round series against the Denver Nuggets.
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, beat writer for Thunder on SI, and here, host of Locked On Thunder, talking to you about the Oklahoma City Thunder having a clutch time win over the Denver Nuggets to get this massive, impressive Game 4 win to put themselves back in the driver's seat of this series. The bench, the clutch, the defense, it was all there for Oklahoma City on today's show, brought to you by our good friends over at Monarch Money. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. We're here at Ball Arena yet again. The Wi-Fi symbol is already on the old StreamYard account. Not a good sign for our video quality, but hopefully a great sign for the audio quality, because that's all that really matters. We have a face that it's built for radio and one that only a mother could love, but won't be getting that anytime soon. Look, when the Thunder came into this game, they were down 2-1 in the series. The backs against the wall. This was a young team that looked the part of a young team through 3 games of this series. They got a blowout win in game 2, but they couldn't close games 1 and 3. And the fact of the matter was, you looked at this team's inability to close those games, and you had to point to the lack of execution, the lack of poise down the stretch of games, and some of the silly mistakes that they made along the way to put themselves in that spot. And game 4 became a must-win because you can't go down 3-1. When you look at this game plan, right, and when you look at how this game unfolded, it was not the prettiest thing. But you never apologize for getting a win. There is no style points for margin of victory or point differential or times spent leading the series. It only matters what happened at the final buzzer, and that's the case tonight as well, even though the Thunder are now on the right side of those things, even though they're on the right side of the other things in the past 3 games. An ugly start. This entire game was a game of basketball that only a mother could love on Mother's Day, and when OKC was able to pull this one out, you kind of felt like you got one back. You stole one back from what they did to OKC in the Paycom Center. But in reality, this team followed its philosophy and followed its identity to this point. And they just did it in a way that isn't as flashy, isn't as sexy, isn't as appealing to watch as other teams' identities. It was their defense. It was their depth. We'll talk about those 2 things coming up, but the Thunder won the rebounding battle 55-49. They even had one more turnover than Denver. First time in this series that's happened. And they shot 24.4 from 3, just like the Nuggets did. Both teams, ironically enough, shot 24% from 3. But what went right for the Thunder is they hit a higher percentage of their shots from the floor. They finally hit more free throws in terms of percentage-wise than their opponent, even though they're still a lot to clean up there. Flipping that script allowed them to be a +10 in the paint, be a +3 in second chance points, be +3 in fast break points, and just dominate with the bench 35-8 in a game in which the bench was always going to have to be a big part of this. Look, I think that sometimes in the postseason, depth can be a bit overrated because you want your best players on the floor for 40, 42 minutes in the playoffs, and that only leaves a little wiggle room for your team to unravel. So at times depth can be a bit overrated, but in a series like this one, in series like these 2 teams have played, where it's been every other day for the last month they've been playing playoff basketball, like that's a big deal. This turnaround was from Friday night at 9 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. local time, to 1:30 p.m. local time here on Sunday in the altitude with this Nuggets team that's not gotten to take a reprieve from closing out that Clippers series. Like, this had to be a game that depth had to rear its ugly head for Denver and for OKC's advantage, and it did. The Thunder's bench was able to come alive in the second half especially and get them this win. The Thunder grew a 15-point lead, but eventually lost it with 2 lead changes and 1 ties, and I think that the most impressive part, before we get into the nitty-gritty, just speaking with generality still, the Thunder were shell-shocked in the third quarter. They were out of sorts. They were beaten down. They lost the third quarter by 13 points to Denver. And Denver, they were the team that in this game, despite being able to play on the front of their feet instead of the back heels like OKC was with their backs against the wall, Denver was the team that was I would say hungrier, or just the ability to respond more for, the majority of the contest. For about 40 of the 48 minutes, Denver was able to respond, and OKC wasn't. OKC also couldn't throw that knockout punch for a lot of this game. And when Denver threw that third quarter punch, it did look like the inexperience was going to cost OKC another game, because it felt like they just couldn't snap out of it. They couldn't get the car back on the road. As they like to say, the offensive kind of downfall happened early in the half court for the Thunder, but the ability to recover from that was a big deal. And the fact that OKC was able to recover from a first quarter in which they played elite defense, so much so that Denver had 1 point at the 8-minute mark, and they were only down by 4 points themselves. Like, the fact that they could recover from that is a big deal. And Denver did let OKC off the hook in that regard. But this is what teams do. You look back at the first 3 games of the series, how many times are you saying that OKC let Denver off the hook? Good teams that have championship aspirations, they find ways to win. And this Thunder team did just that, while a lot of adversity struck, especially in that third quarter. And that's a part of the situation with this inexperience narrative that I think is important to notice, is that you're watching this team in real time gain those experiences and learn from them and implement them into what they're trying to accomplish. Because with the third quarter going the way that it did, Denver erasing that big lead, and you're thinking, here we go again. This is another game that we're going to give away. It would be easy for the Thunder to press the issue. It would be easy for the Thunder to just flat out quit, but they didn't. They were resilient instead, and they learned the lessons of, hey, just keep chipping away, and let's see where the chips fall at the end of the game. And their clutch time turnaround in this game was impressive as well, because you look at what happened in the clutch. For all that we've talked about in game 1 and 3, this is how the clutch time went. SGA runner sends Denver into a timeout. OKC forces a 5-second call out of that timeout. SGA has a spinning mid-range shot on the baseline that goes in. Jokic, offensive foul. That's his 4th foul. Ihart splits those free throws off of that offensive foul. Murray has a tough rim finish. J-Dub misses a wide open 3-point shot, wide open miss. But then Jokic goes 0 for 2 at the free throw line with a Caruso inbound. And off of that inbound, you saw J-Dub attack the rim, playing off the catch from the slot, kind of going cross court to the opposite side of the rim to put OKC up by 6. And then AG, offensive rebound with 2:32 to go to get to the free throw line, down 6. He only makes 1 of 2. The 2 step-back threes from SGA, both misses in 1 possession, and you're thinking, okay, well, that's the settling. That's the thing that's going to unravel this for the Thunder, followed up by a Jokic rim finish to make it a 5-point game, and then an SGA turnover. And you're really thinking, oh, goodness, this is going to be where things go south for OKC. But Chet Holmgren has a great contest in the lane on MPJ. SGA follows that up by missing a midi that he – that's a shot that he makes 95% of the time, and he missed it there as a clean look as can be. And then Jamal Murray airballed it out of the timeout with 21 ticks left. It's OKC by 5, and from there the Nuggets have to play the foul game, and it's J-Dub who gets fouled as Russell Westbrook fouls out. J-Dub hits both free throws, and the double lane violation forced the jump ball, which forced an AG miracle 3 for Denver. And now it's OKC 90-87 with 1.6 left. J-Dub goes 2 for 2 at the line, and the Thunder win 97-87. I thought that the Thunder's approach was a lot better in clutch time. I thought that their composure was a lot better in clutch time. Obviously, the free throws were were just kind of a flip script where it's Jokic, it's AG who are missing these free throws instead of OKC, as J-Dub has a couple big ones in that final stretch. But I thought that you looked at even J-Dub's attack after missing a wide open 3 to then attack the teeth of this Denver zone to get to the rim and get to the opposite side of it and finish. Making the right plays like that is hard to do. Making the right decisions like that is hard to do, but especially when you're having the kind of night that J-Dub had. Following up his best ever playoff game that kind of got swept under the rug because of a loss, but we still highlighted it on the show. You can go back and listen to that. Following that up with a game that you saw shots did not go in that you wanted to see fall, that were shots that you felt like you could have made, especially in clutch time, it would have been easy for him to fall into the temptation of trying to get it all back or to press or to make bad decisions. His decision-making down the stretch of this game, I thought, was very, very, very critical in the Thunder's ability to win this contest tonight. And he talked about how these experiences are going to make this Thunder team a better team, not just for this series, but for next season. And that mature answer, that kind of mature way of approaching things is why this team has been able to accomplish some uncommon things despite their age. And the bottom line is you're now in this series. You're now 2-2 with game 5 coming up. and you control home court advantage in a best of three. And Mark was asked about the inexperienced stuff pregame, and Mark just simply said, we've played the games we have played. We haven't played the games we haven't played. And that's kind of where you have to fall on this. Obviously, they like more experience. Clearly, the Thunder would have to be an anomaly to win this series and go on and do what they want to do. But there's no changing that now. There's no fixing anything now. Right now, all you can do is play Denver on Tuesday night in the Paycom Center, and that's going to be a massive game that we'll talk about with a special guest who's sitting to my right on the next show. But OKC did their job tonight. And the tricky little thing about the NBA playoffs is I know that the emotions can run high. I know that there's a ton of swings, but this is what it takes to win in 7 games. And everything so far, knock on wood, has gone according to plan whenever we've laid out on this show the path to the Thunder going to the Western Conference Finals for the first time since 2016. We predicted Thunder in 7. We predicted that they'd split at home. We predicted that they would lose game 3 and win game 4. Now the Thunder have to go win game 5, and then you continue on that track. But like these emotional feelings, I think, are sort of a forgotten ramification by Thunder fans of playing playoff basketball. Because again, even last year, you had a good team, but it wasn't a team that you felt a ton of pressure about. With the pressure on this team, people have let their emotional swings kind of get out of whack. Like, yes, nothing is perfect for either side. Denver has a lot of things they can do better. OKC has a lot of things that they can do better. But this is what the war is like. Everybody wants to be a soldier until the war's here. And now the war's here. It's 2-2. It's OKC. Game 5 in the Paycom Center. Best of 3. Let's see who ends up wrestling away control and who ends up winning this series. But coming up, let's talk bench mob. Let's talk about this Thunder win, including the lack of Lu Dort down the stretch of this game. Is that something that should happen long term? But first, I want to say right now, but our friends over at DoorDash, go check out DoorDash today because DoorDash is there for you. NBA fans, you know what time it is. Playoff season means big performances and even higher, bigger rewards. DoorDash is bringing the best with a slam dunk deal for Dash Pass. Members during the 25 NBA playoffs can get these deals whenever they swish, you save. Anytime a player drops 50 or more points in a playoff game, Dash Pass members score a free 3-piece crispy tender combo from Wingstop the very next day. Just place an order of $20 or more, use code Wingstop50 at checkout, and that combo is yours. Crispy, delicious, and totally free. Offer valid from noon to midnight the day after the 50-point game. Terms and conditions apply. So today, that's the play. You sign up for Dash Pass and unlock this and many more exclusive deals all season long. When any player scores 50 or more in a playoff game, Dash Pass members can grab a free 3-piece crispy tenders combo from Wingstop the very next day with a $20 or more order. And using code Wingstop50, that's Dash Pass, your door to more savings, more flavor, and more ways to win. Terms and conditions apply. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. And the Thunder do not win this pivotal game 4 without their bench. It was Cason Wallace, it was Aaron Wiggins, and it was Alex Caruso, who deserve a ton of praise. Cason Wallace was just hitting big shot after big shot. When you saw the Thunder get to that point of the game where we were watching and saying, well, this Thunder team is playing a little tight. They're playing a little nervous. They're playing a little anxious, and they're kind of like shell shocked is the way that I would put it. It was Cason Wallace and Aaron Wiggins who hit massive threes to settle this team down, making it a 1-point game under 10 to play. Then Cason hits another massive 3 in the 4th. He went 3 for 3 tonight, and they were all timely big threes for the second-year player. And when you combine the approach that Cason has to the game, just watching Cason Wallace, he's always in the right spots defensively. He's always active defensively, and he's always physical defensively. And the physicality of a guard, of course, is different than the physicality of a big, but he's always playing up into your body and trying to take the ball away in the passing lanes, try to swipe at you on drives. And even when he's off the ball, he's very aggressive at gap help and trying to gap into a driver and swipe at him while they go up into the lane. And he does a really good job of walking that line, of not giving away fouls in those scenarios whenever he's off the ball and poking at the ball on the drivers. And also, of course, still being able to gamble in that way. But he always has that defensive tone and tenor that you want. And then offensively, he's a guy that, like, the moment doesn't feel too big for him, not just because he went 3 for 3, the non-hesitation in taking these shots and his connectivity offensively with more minutes, I think, can really be explored. We've seen all season long how he not only has developed playing off the catch and putting the ball on the deck, but he's just a guy who can float to the right spots and capitalize on that stuff around the rim, and be kind of a safety valve for SGA, even for, post touches with like a post up like Isaiah Hartenstein. He can be a safety valve on the back end of plays. Cason Wallace was incredible tonight, plus 12 in the plus minus category, and 57% shooting overall, but 3 for 3 from the 3-point line. Coupling all these guys together, look at Wiggins. The fact that he was able to stay ready all this time should not fly under the radar. Just because, like, the diehard Thunder fans listening to this, who've listened to this show all year long, I appreciate you, but, like, you guys know that. But, like, just because you know something to be true doesn't make it any less impressive, right? Like, it is very impressive that Wiggins can go on these long stretches where their rotation swings away from him and then come in, still be active and still be impactful and still win you games. The activity that he had on the glass, he did haul in 6 rebounds himself, but you just even look at his contesting of the rebounds, to force guys to bobble rebounds away, to tap rebounds out to other players, to just be in the mix as a guy who oftentimes is put in these spots to be defending bigger players and has not consistently performed at doing so. He did so tonight. His off-ball spacing is huge and his cutting is huge, especially for a half-court offense that can labor at times. And I think that this could be a situation where Wiggins in the next 3 games becomes more impactful, more important, and more used than he was in the first 3 games. And this is kind of the dividing line between that. We'll see how the series, of course, flows, but it was an impressive and active night from Aaron Wiggins. And then you look at Alex Caruso, who continues to show you why the Josh Giddey trade was made. Caruso is a better connective player offensively than Josh Giddey is. And that's not to take anything away from Josh Giddey or what he did in Chicago, but that Chicago role for Giddey was not available in OKC. What was available was this off-the-bench connective playmaker role and connective finisher, which Caruso does both of those things, connective passing and connective finishing, better than Josh Giddey from beyond the arc and from inside the arc. And so Caruso is the exact player that you need on the offensive end, and he's electrifying defensively. Nobody will question his prowess on that end as a 2-time All-NBA defender, but he's capable of taking and making shots in big moments. He's frankly a 16-game player. We had that whole exclusive interview with him on Thunder on SI that you should go back and read, but 10 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 for 5 from 3. I think defensively, what gets undershadowed is for a Thunder team who still lacks a traditionally sized power forward. Like you're still trying to get by with J-Dub playing there. You're still trying to get by with even Chet playing there because Chet has the raw height. He doesn't have the exact size to one-for-one match up with guys like Aaron Gordon. Caruso's scalability defensively and versatility to take on Jokic post-ups, to take on Aaron Gordon, to take on these vastly different assignments night to night, possession to possession, minute to minute is really impressive from Caruso. And without these 3 guys, you did not get this win tonight. And that came at the cost of benching Lu Dort. And this is a luxury that the Thunder can't afford and they're required to take. And I know that sounds harsh for Lu, but Lu just did not have it tonight. Lu had 6 points, 2 rebounds, 2 for 10 from 3, and a lot of those threes were not good threes. This was the first game where it felt like the Thunder did settle for threes. Because people, listen, the way that settling typically goes for people is if the shot didn't go in, then you settled for a 3. And that's why I've always pushed back on that narrative. But tonight you saw where like SGA had an opportunity where he just dribbled into a contested 3 with 19 seconds on the shot clock. That's settling. Lu Dort's almost entire repertoire of threes tonight was settling. 2 steps behind the line with a defender in front of him, a sidestep 3 in transition. Like these threes are not just missing, but they're not quality looks from Lu. And so I think that the reason why you build such a talented and deep roster that's predicated on having multiple defenders is for when it's not your night, and you sit on the bench and you'll try again next time. And I think that that's where you have to give Mark a lot of credit. Mark's been a guy who's been under the microscope. Mark's been a guy who's been heavily criticized in this series, but the ability to not be too loyal to Lu in this game and to not close with him and to trust Cason and to trust Caruso and to trust Wiggins and to give them more minutes and give Dort less minutes. That's a strong move by Mark, and that's a move that is made because of Dort, because of Mark, and because what this team has cultivated as a culture where the players trust Mark to make these calls, and they don't really hold grudges about it, and they're going to have to do that again, which brings up the next question of how long do you now give Lu in games? Because while he was awful tonight from three, while he has not shot the ball well on the road in the playoffs, while he has not been the shooter you want him to be, but you look at game one, you stuck with Lu in game one, he rattles off 4 straight threes. So this is a guy who's capable of heating up. To me, it's as simple as just, you're always going to start Lu because of what he does defensively, and even some of the defense, like he can flop over screens and not get the call, and then put himself out of position and hurt the team that way as well. And I thought that tonight was just an avalanche of everything that could have gone wrong went wrong for Lu. But to me, you start Lu every single game of the series, but you quickly adjust. Of like, if he goes out there and he tries one too many of those, kind of grifting opportunities, getting over screens, let's say, and he misses a couple threes in a row, you've got to try other guys out. And because of what can happen in these moments and the margins being so thin, that you had to go to somebody else, and guys were willing to step up. And I really think that that's the reason why you see this Thunder team all throughout the regular season talk about versatility, talk about experimenting with lineups, talk about just trying new things and putting them in stress testing lineups and stress testing themselves, and being able to do a lot of different things with their Rolodex of rotation. And this is why you do it. This is exactly why you do it, because that lineup to start the fourth quarter with Jada at the helm, and he's being flanked by guys like Wiggins and Caruso and Cason, and he has Hartenstein out there with him as well. Like, that's why you play those lineups in the regular season, to where the first time that they're put into it, it's not with your season on the line and you need a spark, right? The teams that wait around and just throw stuff out there haphazardly to get them a quote unquote spark and don't execute that in the regular season, like, that's where you fall into the desperation. This was not desperation. This was a premeditated plan of like, okay, well, we have all these different tools in the toolbox, and it's not an indictment on one player or the other. It's just, hey, it's not your night, Lu. It's these other guys' night, and you roll with it. And that's where depth can come into play in the postseason, because there's some teams in the playoffs where you want your best guys, playing 40 or so minutes, and Lu Dort's one of your best guys. But what if one of your best guys doesn't have it that night? And the Thunder have levers to pull, and teams like Denver do not have a true levers to pull in terms of like what you look at their two rosters side by side. Denver just has an exceptionally great, top 5, 6, 7 group of guys, and they've gotten just enough from the Watsons of the world, from the Zekes of the world, etc. But the defense won this game for OKC. We'll talk about that all coming up. But first, I want to say right now, our good friends over at Monarch Money, go check out Monarch Money today, because if you've ever checked your bank account and wondered, where did all your money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building your wealth. I love the all-in-one convenience of not juggling multiple apps, just only using Monarch to check finances, track spending, and even planning long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com, 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off of your first year. Also want to say right now, but good friends over at Hungry Root, go check out Hungry Root today, because Hungry Root, with everyone in the house, there's always something going on in your house, probably, right? This is busy season with, your kids and the summer vacation and trying to get them off to daycares and sporting events and everything else, to where sometimes like grocery shopping and cooking at home can slip through the cracks. And that's why you should use Hungry Root. Hungry Root is like having your own personal shopper and nutritionist wrapped into one. They take care of grocery shopping and meal planning and offer personalized recommendations based upon your tastes and also your goals. And so you can go check out Hungry Root, because they tailor every single order based on what you like, what you don't like, and it gives you smarter recommendations every single time as they learn these more things about you, with high quality, nutritious food that you can stick to your goals, whether you need gut healthy food or high protein food or no gluten food, etc. Whatever you might need, you can take advantage of that with hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA, code LockedOnNBA for 40% off your lifetime, your box, and a lifetime free item in every single box when you go there right now to hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA, code LockedOnNBA for 40% off of your box and a free item for life in your boxes at hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day here, talking about how the Thunder won Game 4 and went back in control of this series. The defense won OKC this game. Denver did a better job of protecting the ball, but it still turned into 13 turnovers for Denver in this game. The Thunder were the more physical team inside, and it led them to getting rebounds and tap outs and sticking with plays with a bit fresher legs than what Denver could put on the floor, but forcing Denver to shoot 31, 24, 72 shooting splits. That's why you construct the roster this way. And I think that perspective can get lost whenever you're watching the Thunder break shots and you're watching the offense become sluggish, and you're watching the half-court offense be a disaster at times. What can get lost is this is a defense-first team. This is a team built on the back of a historic defense, and that allows you to figure things out when things aren't going right. When you're having a bad shooting night, when you're having a bad offensive night and a bad processing night, it keeps you in games. Let's be honest about this. If you just took the Thunder's raw offensive numbers for 3 of these 4 games, the Thunder should be down 3-1. And they should have been blown out 3-1. But why were they not blown out in any game, even the 2 that they lost? And again tonight, because their defense keeps them in it. And once you keep them in it, had you executed in the clutch time as you did tonight, you would be up in this series. And obviously, there's caveats to that, right? If you hold on to game 1, game 2 changes. If you hold on to game 3, this game changes. So, there's caveats to that. But why were you even in the position to try to win those games and not just blown out of the water? Because of your defense, and because that's what this team is built on. And it's important to keep that perspective. And I think that when you see a bad shooting night like this, 24% for both teams from 3, turn into a Thunder win, it's because their defense is the caliber to hold one of the best 2-man duos that we've seen with Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. And we've seen Aaron Gordon be special in this postseason. We've seen Michael Porter Jr. just a game ago have a massive hot streak. We saw Russell Westbrook last series shoot 40% from 3. The way you're able to qualm that and kind of hold them to 87 points in regulation is because of how great your defense was. And Jokic, by his standards, continues to struggle. And again, you can get cute with Jokic of he had 27, 13, 3, and 4. As David Allen put it pregame, he's one of the most efficient players across any sport. You take any sport's efficiency ratings and you compare them to Jokic, he's the most efficient of them all. So by his standards, 31% from the floor and 25% from 3 and a couple turnovers is not a good night. Now, does it look pretty in the box score in terms of just the raw points, assists, and rebounds category? Yes, but even by his standards, that's not as pretty as he likes them to be. And I think that the thing that Jokic did well tonight was limiting the turnovers and not being overwhelmed by the crowd, but he didn't get off the shots he wanted to in the sense of getting them to the bottom of the net, because it's really tough to play against this Thunder defense. But he's fixed the turnover thing. Now you've got to look at how he can start making these shots, and you do start to wonder, now that we're 4 games into this series, and I know that Jokic is a proud player of not wanting to make excuses, you have to wonder how much of that elbow is bothering him, because some of these shots, man, Jokic should be making. And the Thunder are playing defense to where, they're playing defense at a high level. I do not want to discount the Thunder's defensive output on Jokic. I would just say that there's a lot of these shots that, while they're really good defense, they should be shots where you tip your cap and say, well, the Thunder did all he could. Jokic just kind of made the shot. But instead, those same shots are missing, and you wonder how much of that is due to the elbow. But Jokic still has to figure out how to find the right balance of force, but also avoiding offensive fouls, and physicality, but also avoiding loose ball fouls. And so it's a tough tightrope to walk. And the majority, and he had 11 points of his 27 points at the free throw line with 14 attempts. And the Thunder in general had 10 less free throws than Denver did in this contest. And you saw the Thunder get hit for 26 fouls, I should say, to Denver's 23. And Denver ends up losing this game, and they've lost the control of the series. Because if you go up 3-1, you've practically buried a team, especially one this young, this unproven. But now it's 2-2. It's a best of 3, and the Thunder have home court for whatever that's worth. It's not been worth much in this year's NBA playoffs, but it's worth something, especially to a young team where historically role players play better at home. So for the Thunder, you have the chance for 2 home games where your role players should be playing better. And the role player stepped up tonight on the road, which is a big deal. But ultimately, OKC gets this win. I thought that we'll talk, I know we'll talk tomorrow, but a lot of things OKC can clean up. But again, you can't apologize for losing. And we'll talk about what Denver can clean up too, because this has been the exact same outcomes for 4 games, it feels like, outside of the blowout game too. Like every game, the winner feels really good and they feel like there's a lot to clean up, and the loser feels like, well, if we would have just done this and this, we would have won the game. That's how slim the margins are going to be. But SGA starts out 5 for the first 12 points for OKC. He sat in the first quarter, which was a bit perplexing, but he does play the non-Jokic minutes in the second quarter, which helped OKC kind of swell that gap a little bit. But OKC saw SGA go for 25 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, and 42% from the floor. He was over 3 from 3, but when you really look at it, I thought that the possession in the clutch where he missed 2 straight step back threes, I thought that the first step back three probably shouldn't have shot that. I thought that the 3 where he dribbled into a contested 3 with 19 seconds left, you absolutely shouldn't have shot that. I thought that the second step back 3, though, back to the clutch possession, was a clean look. And the reason why you're having to settle for threes is Denver's forcing you to. They're packing the paint and they're saying, you know what? Shai is so good. Shai is so talented once he gets to the elbow and in, that let's keep him off the elbow. Let's keep him out of the mid-range. Let's keep him at the 3-point line. And if he wants to take step backs over Christian Brown every single time down the floor, you'll welcome it. And those threes have not hit to loosen up that strategy yet for Shai nor his counterparts to help loosen up Denver in that paint. So some of that is truly taking what the defense gives you versus not settling. But there were a couple in there that you can consider settling for SGA, as we pointed out. But J-Dub, I thought the punch that he served with the secondary lineups in the non-Jokic minutes to make it a 1-point game in the fourth quarter showed great maturity on his part as a table setter, as a facilitator. And then we talked about the mindset of just attacking the right way despite a tough night, when you kind of want to get everything all back at one fell swoop, but in clutch time to still be within himself and to still play his game. Coming off of the game that he had and knowing what was on the line tonight was impressive. He was locked in defensively from the word go. He was fighting physically on the glass. He was playing the passing lanes. He was bumping in the post. He was doing it all tonight. 10 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds for him. Again, not the box score you want. You don't want over 5 from 3 on mostly good looks. You don't want 2 for 13 from the floor. But the clutch free throws, especially in the fourth quarter on the intentional foul from the AG Hail Mary, like that is just a tangible way of looking at how the Thunder can grow from what they've experienced in these first 4 games. But again, we have a whole segment already listed out on how OKC can clean things up, but we don't have time to get to that, so we'll get to that tomorrow with our special guest. So we'll get to that tomorrow on top of previewing a pivotal Game 5, what will eventually swing the series. So until then, be good and be good to one another.